Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My standard greeting. Welcome to Run It Back, episode number 89. I'm your host, Menelik Fernandez. And the premise of the show, of course, remains the same, where each week we take teams that have played previously and we run it back, so to speak. We talk about, the intricacies of the game. We talk about, things we would do differently, how we prepared. Uh, we explore and almost grade ourselves as coaches. Just kind of fun stuff for coaches to try and get better. This week is no different. So this week I am looking at a game that took place this school year. It's MHMS versus Lead Academy. This is a high school game. And similar to each of the previous weeks that I've been doing this show, I have a coach from the game joining me, JerMarus Mcinnis, which to me is a big surprise because he's just Coach Mac most affectionately to me, is a lead assistant for lead. And Coach Mac, if you give me a second, I'll do my best to try and welcome you with a warm welcome here. Coach Mac has been an associate head basketball coach at Lead Academy since 2019. He was a head basketball coach prior to that at Brick Church Middle School. And he is, of course, the founder of the Tennessee Panthers. And he's been doing that. We were just laughing about this right now off camera for 15 years. You must have started that when you were 10, sir. I love it. I love it. But that being said, Coach Mack is also somebody that I have gotten to know over the past year and a half, 2 years, somebody that I've shared the game with, just somebody that I have tremendous respect for, somebody who's helped me get better. So I'm really, really happy to have you. Thank you for joining. I'm excited to have you on Run It Back. Welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I look forward to doing this.
My pleasure. Now, set the stage a little bit for me. Talk to me about, I don't have a lot of details, like in terms of the box and the date of this score. I have the video, obviously, but talk to me about your league. Talk to me about the competitive level. Talk to me about where you guys would stand relative to other high schools in the area. Give us the background of you guys.
All right, so Lead Academy is a charter school in Nashville, Tennessee, and Merrill Hyde is a magnet school that's in Hendersonville, Tennessee, maybe 25, 30 minutes away. Uh, that league is a 1A classification, which is the lowest in attendance. In our league, they are that's our biggest competition. And so we're basically rivals in the aspect of it's either going to be one of us as the 1 and 2 seed going to the regional playoffs. Prior to this game, we played them twice. They beat us both times. It was hard for us to take those losses because we felt as though we were the better team. We had the better athletes. We had the better players.
Right.
Just they had chemistry. They're a senior group, and at times it looked like they wanted it more than us. So this was the district championship game, and this was for all the marbles. This gives you the 1 seed. So, it was all on the line in this game.
Love that. So it makes the result even better, right? That being said, are you guys allowed to recruit in high school where you are? Because I know it's very different in different places in the world as to what high school looks like there. So talk to me a little bit about that. Like you mentioned the attendance issue there. So
Right. So like you cap out at about 450 kids. Recruiting is not legal. But
gotcha. Doesn't mean it
what
doesn't happen, but it's
yeah, it doesn't mean it doesn't
right.
happen. But what is allowed to happen is by us being a charter school, we are able to get kids out of any zone within the city. It's an open enrollment. They have to apply. If they apply, they
Right.
get in. And some people think that's an advantage, but at the same time, you have to provide your own transportation. So if you can't get there,
For
then you
sure.
can't go.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what a scouting process looks like. So you mentioned this is the district championship. I imagine there's probably some stuff leading up to it, some games you got to get through. How much time do you have off between the last game and this game? And then what sort of is your scouting process? How much do you lean on the previous two times you played them? Do you have access to film? What are you producing for your guys? All that stuff.
So yeah, these this between the semifinal and the championship game, there was one day, so it was a back to back.
Wow.
Semifinal was Wednesday, championship game was Thursday. Uh, as far as what we did coming into this, we had film because we played twice already leading up to this. But the games were very different. One game they had one of their guys shoot the ball really well. The next game, their big kid had a double double, and then they had other people stepping up. So I mean, they're a well balanced team. So you never knew what to expect when it came to scouting, but we did know they were going to play us in a zone because we're a smaller team and we were at our best in the open court. Transition was where we thrived. Pressing the ball on defense where we thrive. So we like to play fast, and everybody's opposition to that is to slow you down. A lot of subs, a lot of sets. But I mean, the key was to not give up open shots to their shooter.
Right.
We send three to the board and we get two back. So we were trying to get a board and get the ball up the floor as quick as possible. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But that was
Right.
our
For sure.
main thing. To get the ball out and go press the ball on defense, get some easy points. But that's about it. I mean, we share the film with our guys. The good thing about it is the middle school and high schools combined. So the high school gets out an hour before the middle school. So that hour for us is precious. We watch film, we work out in the weight room, and then we go to the court. So that between that hour and our own court practice time, watch a little film, stretch out, hit the weight room. So by being a game, there ain't no weight room, but we're able to watch film going into it, and it keeps things fresh.
I like that. I like that as an idea. So what would first of all, let me ask this. You guys are a high school. Are you using something like Huddle or like access to a synergy type deal or
Oh yeah, we
um,
have a huddle, and we get all our guys to create an account, and we send out posts. Coach Davis and he does a really good job of getting that out. Man, he'll stay up late. I'll stay up late breaking it down, and we'll get it out. I mean, we might get off the bus at 11 o'clock, and 1:30 films out. Guys are watching it in the morning. Guys are watching it during study hall. So yeah, we get it out pretty good.
all right, I'm sorry. We had a little bit of technical difficulties there. We're going to jump back into it. You said that your head coach did an excellent job of being able to get the film done together and put together for them. Talk to me a little bit about that. What does he do in terms
So
of,
he breaks it down by quarters.
right,
He shows what sets they like to do, what their key player likes to do, how they like to move. We really look at the sub patterns so we know when to expect to be slowed down because we're one of the fastest teams in our league. We get the ball out and we go. So in an effort to slow us down, they sub a lot because we don't care if you make it or you miss it. We're getting the ball and we're going. We're
right?
advancing the ball up the floor. We got somebody doing a rim run, got somebody filling the lane. We're looking to get an easy basket.
So
So we look at different patterns of substitutions, and we look at the time that they hold the ball in possessions. Because
man, coach, I just got like excited a little bit. I'm sorry. I know that this is not typically done at the high school level, so I need you to elaborate a little bit. When you're scrubbing through for substitution patterns, when he's doing that or when you're doing that, what are you doing? You're writing the time in, time out.
yeah,
You're also doing a
yeah,
depth chart of who's coming in
who's
and
coming
for
in?
whom.
Yeah, right. So when you do that, I mean, for us, we know where we want to attack the floor because we have different calls for different sides of the floor.
Right,
And basically, when they make the sub, even though the game is stopped, we're still trying to go fast. Like we play fast.
right,
Uh, and so we know who's coming in. We know where to attack. We got something set up for it. And if you watch the film, you probably didn't pay attention to it, but you'll tell. You can look if you look at it, you'll see when the set's changed, and you'll see us do something different. It's because the sub came in.
huh.
Because as long as that same five is in, we're doing the same thing.
I love it. I actually really do love it. So basically you teach your guys to look for advantages on their
Right.
court,
Right.
and everybody would get the same information there where they would be like, hey, this guy's coming in, we know he's weak, we want to attack him, we'd also want to attack him more on this side of the floor, something to that nature with this set.
Yeah, because most teams play us in the zone.
Right.
So we would put one of our big kids was left-handed,
Right.
and they were the majority of the time the subs would come and they would have to guard him because he's a big kid. They're fouling him. I mean, he's that you don't find kids in the league that size, the size with his size. So they foul and they get in foul trouble, and we see how they're gonna play him. I mean, especially this team, we knew how they were gonna do us. Either they play the front or they have help on the back, or they play the back and have help on the front.
Right.
So we would do that to a back door, or we'll kick it to a shooter. But it just depends on the team how we do it. But in this game particularly, I think he forgot about slowing us down.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can see it because it was times where they should have put us away and we snuck back in it.
That being said, with that process, how do you deliver information to your guys? Like, are you giving them, you mentioned you use that hour to go through film. How long would that film be? Is it edited more towards like sets or personnel? And then like, are you doing a paper copy? And then with all the stuff of the breakdown for depth charts and all of that, how do you deliver that to them as well?
So on Huddle, you can make notes while the film is playing.
Right.
You can add the notes and it'll pop up, and you'll freeze it, and it'll show, and you'll elaborate it for a couple minutes. But once you go through, for
Right.
us, when you go through a couple film sessions, guys pick up on what we're doing, and it doesn't take as long the deeper we get into the season. Our league was small. We only had 6 teams, so I mean, it didn't take as long because we're a 1A school. You don't have a ton of kids. But especially this game right here, they only played 8 guys. If they're on a good night, they play 8 guys. They normally only went 7 deep. So we pretty much knew all of their tendencies already.
So that being said, I would assume matchups are fairly important for you, at least on the defensive side when you're not pressing. I noticed you did do some full court pressure and some pressing. Talk to me about matchups. Does everybody get everybody's tendencies, or do you only kind of give the tendencies to the specific players you think will be guarding specific players?
No, everybody gets it because we switch everything. Everybody switches. We're developmental heavy at our school because we get a lot of guys that just don't know how to play basketball,
Right.
or they don't understand basketball. We like to say kids play basketball, but you're not a basketball player. So
Right.
we try to turn you into a basketball player. But yeah, everybody gets it because we switch everything, and it works out pretty fairly well. I'll say fairly well. It works out fairly well.
Do you find that when you play teams that don't switch everything and employ whatever other coverage, they're high hedging, they're trapping the ball, they're in a deep drop, do you find that because your guys see so much switching in practice, they have difficulty with other coverages at all?
Yeah, it you can see the lackluster effort when we try to change what we're doing. And if somebody's doing something that doesn't allow us to play what we typically do, because we always tell our guys we focus on what we're doing and we're not necessarily worried about the opponent. But we do have trouble with teams that show us something different. So our in district record will be, I don't know, let's say 10-2. Our out of district record we may be 3-8 because we're playing teams that we don't really have a lot of time to prepare for. We
Right.
can't really give too much detail, and guys have a hard time figuring it out because we don't really have a ton of basketball players.
So would it be fair to say then, like if there was a spectrum of like very, very detailed scout and focusing on an opponent, as opposed to very, very detailed self scout and focusing on yourself, you're probably leaning more towards focusing on the wow, I cannot speak. Focusing on yourselves and what you guys do, trying to do it well, better than the other team, basically.
Correct. That's a fair assessment.
Yeah, make them adjust to what you're doing overall.
Right, because a lot of teams we play don't play. They don't play that style of basketball. They don't play fast. They play slow, and they trot back on defense. You do that against us, by the time you get back, we already set up in the break. So it's different.
So here's one that I struggle with. I find that most coaches would like to play fast and don't always have the guys. Do you ever find that you have players taking possessions off in practice, not running on makes, not running for each other? And if you do, how do you correct those things? How do you like, this is the style we're playing, we're going to go faster, all that?
Man, now I would tell you this: uh, we had to figure out a way because we had as you saw the big kid, he was a transfer from out of state, and he was used to the slow down.
Right.
I might shoot it, I might get it in the post. Well, if you see everybody else on the team, we had him at we had him at 6'9", and then everyone else is 5'3" to 6 foot, and you can see it in possessions where they're zooming down the floor, and he just trotting. So we try to change things, especially in the transition, where it fits the individual. So instead of making him do the rim run because he's the biggest guy on the floor, we turn him into the trail guy. Okay, you can't get down the floor. We're gonna put you in a position where what you can do helps us. So it's all about adjusting things, but we had to do some incentives too. Like we give them quarter goals. We give them quarter goals. You meet this quarter goal, we're gonna give you some Skittles. You meet this quarter goal, we give you extra bottle of water. Like little
Nice.
stuff, but kids like motivation. So anything to get them to do things the right way or our way is what we did.
Do you find that those reinforcements work with like the running the floor and all that?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes they.
Playing through the trail, what does skill development look like for you, and how would you say that factored into this game, being able to play through the trail?
Every day at practice, we start out with a 5-man train that turns into a 3-on-2, and then we'll go to a 3-man train that turns into a 2-on-1, and then we'll go to a fast break drill that goes from 2-on-1 to 3-on-2 to 4-on-3 to 5-on-4 to 5-on-5. And so the entire time when we're doing that, everybody's sprinting. They don't even realize it. So they're sprinting. We're getting you in shape while at the same time playing fast, while at the same time understanding what to do when
Right.
you're tired and playing fast.
Right.
So when we got to the 5-on-5 portion of it, you could see it in his face. He's turning red, he's dragging. But for some odd reason, all individuals playing basketball find this extra burst of energy when they touch the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So when he's the trail guy, he could come up. He's 6'9". He could shoot. He's probably the best shooter we had on the team. He'll shoot one. Wow, he'll knock it down. We'll go back down. He'll make another one. Wow, now we got to start over. And he hit 2 shots. Rather than him saying, "Oh, I'm tired," he jumped back in. Let's go. So it's just like a made shot playing through him. He got everybody else going because it was new to him. It was something that he didn't do. It's something that he didn't do where he came from.
Right.
And it gave us the opportunity to let everyone touch the ball because if he didn't get the shot up, he would swing it, and we had to come back around.
Uh, I love it too, BT. BT saying teaching how to play in transition with numbers. And what I would say about it too is the same way that you speak about like the burst of energy when I used to make the joke, the ball is a battery. Some guys need to get the battery to be recharged type deal. But in addition to that, like my practice is I'm playing the whole time. I'm really not a big advocate of punishment running. I think it's kind of a waste of time, but B, it also like it forms this negative relationship with something that's positive that you need for the game. When you're playing and you change like the constraints, like, oh, we're in the half, now we're in the full, guys are running more all of a sudden, and they run less and they play in the half. And they're doing a lot of high intensity interval stuff and they don't realize it. They don't get that negative. So, like, to what you're saying, I really agree with the way that you're doing it in terms of like, hey, man, let's get into something that's going to make them think or make them move or whatever the case may be, instead of being like, everything's let's go do an 11, let's go do a 33 or a 21 or whatever you guys do in terms of your breakdowns. But I love it. Talk to me a little bit about the specific game plan for this. You mentioned some stuff topically, but what did you think you really had to do to come away with the W?
we knew we were going to have to make open shots. Uh, the last time we played them, they took away the three ball from the big fella. The first time we played them, that was their first time playing against him. He had 30. He made like 8 threes, a couple rebounds and putbacks. So on this team, they're young. We had a senior who had been in the program 4 years, which was prior to us arriving there. He was our emotional guy. He's a little bitty point guard. Ended up having one of the best games of his life, and we told him before the game they're going to stop the big fella Ben, and then they were going to stop Cam Zero, who ended
Right.
up having the worst game he probably had all year. But I mean, he hit shots when we needed him to. But the game plan was to still get in transition when we could, force as many turnovers as possible, and when they slowed us down, make sure that we protected the ball and got the best shot possible.
Like it. And then uh when you give those points to your staff, do you also reinforce them with the guys, and what are like one or two talking points for each one of those points? Like, do you say we're going to specific actions or attack certain players?
Well, it's sort of like a read and react thing. That guard was a senior. He'd been playing since he was a freshman. Uh, we're an open book. We like input from our players. It lets them grow
Right.
as individuals. You're not gonna play basketball forever. Some of them might want to coach later on, but to include them in these conversations, we're all on one accord. I know I see things from the bench, and Coach Davis sees things from the bench, but they see different things on the floor. So
For
we
sure.
can combine all of that knowledge. You almost come up with the best resolution for whatever problem you're facing. So everybody gives input, and we sort of like let them make some of those decisions. Like we were giving out defensive assignments, and they was like, "Coach, I got him. I need to go over him. I'm gonna hold him." Like because I feel like, or they felt like they did a better job. And towards the end of this, you could see some of the guys switching and some different things happen, and it's like, oh, okay, well, let's go with it. So,
Mhm.
we give key points, they run with it, and then they come back and tell us what they see, and we adjust when necessary.
Love it. When you were in the game, how did you feel you were in terms of executing the game plan comparative to what you told them? And this brings about a question that I ask often. How long will you stick with a game plan that may or may not need tinkering with, or might just be off base if it is off base?
Well, for us, our game plan is always going to be pretty much the same. So we don't really detour from it very often. I mean, it might be a couple of tweaks to it, but the biggest thing for us would be change the defense or change of assignment.
Right.
Going into this one, they were making more shots than we anticipated. We knew they shot the ball at a pretty high clip, but you could see guys getting tired and making mistakes. And they caught their second win when they needed it most. But the biggest adjustment for us was changing who was guarding who, and not giving up so many second chance opportunities for them. We gave up a lot of points off the glass this game. So
When you get into games, what are you looking for? What are you tracking on the bench? What are the things that are tangible that you feel help with your performance?
the biggest thing for me are deflections. Who's ever, especially by us being so small, we know the big guys gonna guard the biggest fellow on the floor. But for guards, who's ever deflecting the ball the most, we like to put them on the ball handler because they're active. And if they're giving just one small deflection, we're so quick that we can run through, and a deflection turns into a steal most of the time for us.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing we track over there.
And like, I'm sorry, you played quarters. Do you always play quarters? And do you always use shot clock or not always use shot clock?
Always quarters. Do not have a shot clock in Tennessee.
Right.
That and they probably won't have a shot clock in Tennessee for a long time.
Interesting.
But no, we if we did have a shot clock, and let's say it was 35 seconds, we have a shot up by the time it hit 28 anyway. So
Do you get box scores at the end of your quarters or at half? Is that something that's provided for you guys?
it's not provided. I created a sheet at the beginning of the season,
Hmm.
and we track everything. So we track everything from offensive rebounds all the way to turnovers. I mean, you have deflection, steals, assists, how many shots you attempted from 2 and 3, how many free throws you attempted. I mean, we keep up with all that. We give them an update. At the end of the game, we tally it all up. We know our percentages. Like we know what we're really, really good at and what we're really bad at.
I like that. Uh, so if you're not getting a box from them, but you're keeping your own stats, what kinds of things really stand out on the page other than deflections? And how do you convey that to your guys at the end of the quarter, at the half, all that kind of stuff?
Fouls for us are a big thing because we shot free throws really well. Uh, and unlike Georgia, our team fouls don't start over at the beginning of a quarter. They run the entire half. So we when we got a team to five, let's say 5 team fouls, instead of getting a shot, attack the rim, like attack the rim because in the next 2 fouls you're shooting free throws the rest of the half. So fouls and offensive rebounds was two of the main things we kept up with.
So that's intriguing to me. So, what is your bonus or penalty? And that goes for the whole half, like you were saying.
So at 7 you go to the 1-and-1. At 10 you go
Right.
to the double bonus the rest of the
Right.
way.
It's so weird how different the game is from state to state, country to country in terms of things. Like we played your rules when I was growing up, and then somewhere around like 2008, we were like, no, we're FIBA only. So when I started coaching, it was like we had shot clocks and all that. And I was like, wow, this is a totally different game. Very
Uh,
interesting.
yeah.
Offensive boards, you said you send 3 to the glass. Did that change at all for this? Does it ever change, or is that always just one of your rules?
It depends on the size of the team we're playing. Uh, we are always going to get one person back. But if you get 2 back, you get one person all the way back, then you get that second person at half court, and they may be able to get to that outlet pass. So we send someone to half, we send someone to all the way back. If they can get that steal at half court, which we're going to take that gamble, like they got to run back just like we do. So we'll take that gamble with that first guy trying to get that outlet pass, and on the backside we'll have guys sprinting back because we do that drill at practice as well, where they know we're gonna have one person back coming back to the weak side, so everybody just sprints back and rotates anyway.
On the defensive side, talk to me about some of your tenants in transition and in the half court. What are like the staples that you teach your guys? Are you influencing in certain directions? You mentioned you switch everything. Uh, are you always playing in the press, or like you said, you vary between certain ones? So, it's sort of like talk to me about how you implement your systems.
We start off in the man, which is a lot of teaching. Uh, it's crazy to me the number of guys who don't understand the basic concepts of a man defense, which it changes. I mean, the terminology may be different, the way you deny may be different, but the principles are usually the same. So, a lot of our guys don't know that. So we spend a lot of time in the man. Like I said earlier, we switch everything, but
Mhm.
on the hedge, on a screen, we hedge hard and trap, which is different because the way we help is different than most people will do. We will help all the way over, and that backside skip, man, or that backside guy in the corner, we leave him open. Uh, but it's usually the hardest pass to make. Uh, we,
Right.
we we teach the guy that's coming up off that screen to basically take that away. Because if you don't take it away, it's gonna be wide open, which they didn't do a good job of it this game. We gave up a lot of corner threes, but we weren't gonna change it because that pressure sometimes creates easy buckets for us, and we did get a lot of easy buckets out of it. But the principles for that are help the helper, leave the corner guy open. If we're not trapping, we're switching everything. We like to have guys in the gap, but our guys don't like to take charges. They think they're the best athletes in the world, which think highly of yourself, but understand what you're capable of, understand your strengths. Uh, and
I
outside
thought
of
you were
that,
going
that's
to
pretty
flip
much it.
about a good charge in there, and I was going to ask you about that. So that's very interesting that you mentioned that.
Yeah, yeah. That was the senior. He he played with a lot of emotion, man. And it's crazy that they had a guy that didn't play much in the first two games, and he took like 4 or 5 charges, like big momentum swings. So yeah, that's a big thing in Tennessee, taking charges.
Love it. Uh, do you do for the other parts of the season anything that's like a post game report or evaluation of how you played, and not just on the performance of your guys, but on the accuracy of what you've implemented, and if it was like a correct scout and we just didn't execute properly, or if we missed some things in what we were scouting and consider delivering things differently next time.
Man, in today's society, you have to hold yourself accountable because if you do not, the players definitely will. I tell anybody, kids will talk back to you and tell you what you did wrong before they talk to each other on defense.
Yeah,
So
that's
we had,
actually
to,
very
yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah, we had to be very willing to hold ourselves accountable and let it be open with, hey, I made a mistake on that. You were right. We can do it this way. But it's by us admitting to our faults and letting them know, hey, I'm glad you took that step, growing as an individual, and letting us know that didn't work. I tried this and it did. We're able to move forward. The majority of the time, we pretty much got some things right. But it always seemed like when we play somebody and we were like, oh, he can't do this and he can't do that, they did it. They always do it that night. But the majority of the time, we're pretty spot on. You can't really hide who you are. I mean, it's hard to change overnight. But yeah, we always held ourselves accountable, and if we didn't, our players definitely would. So I mean, it works out. It works out.
Last one I got before we move on to a bit of film is just this. It has everything to do with pace of play because you mentioned you want to play fast. So I'd say first, what percentage would you like to play in transition in an ideal world? And if you're not getting out into transition a lot and not getting out and playing fast a lot, how do you correct that in game?
So we want to. I'll say we want to go 65% of the time in transition. Uh, Simply because, and it normally doesn't happen like that, but simply because at practice we run a lot. We make a lot of baskets on the run.
Right.
And when we do that, we look our best in transition. Uh, Now when we don't get the transition, we go to the secondary break, which is usually hitting the trail man. Sometimes he'll knock it down. If they take it away, he'll swing it, then he'll dive to the rim and post up. Uh, by that time, if we hadn't got a shot up, we'll just go to an open set where we're just basically passing, getting to the react spot, and cutting. Uh, I would say 50% of the time we're able to get out. Uh, but when you play a team like this, they normally sub, so that drops the number to maybe 30%. If you're not getting them to turn the ball over, by the time they make a shot or the time they make a free throw, it's a sub coming. So we had to get really good at scoring in the half set, especially on a zone defense because everybody played us in a zone because that was where we were weak at. That's our weakest spot,
Right.
playing through a zone defense. So we did a lot of work on it. It improved. Still not where we wanted to be, but it improved. So that's how we did that.
Appreciate. I'm going to move into a bit of film. And for this, Mac, I'll try to play each clip 2 or 3 times just because some people listen to the show only and don't watch it. I'll try to fumble through a description and describe it for those people. So let me just kind of fumble with my description first, and then you take it away. Tell me what you see, what you would do better, what you like, what you don't like, all that kind of stuff. Let me know what's in there for us, please. So we've got this was one of your first sets, the first set. This is attacking their zone. So I'm gonna back that up. Sorry. Off of the jump, they're right into their zone. So we make a corner pass to the offensive right side, move the ball back around. We end up getting it to the nail. There's a fill behind, and now we've got a corner pass back up top. So we've just worked it around, end up with the shot in that corner. Talk to me about all the movement. What are you trying to establish? You knew they were going to play zone. Are you looking for particular players? Are you looking for particular spots on the floor? Are you looking to stretch it or deform it in certain ways? What do you see?
So first possession, we're basically trying to see if they're going to play us in a 2-3 or a 3-2.
Right.
They normally go through it. The both of those, they'll play a 3-2, they'll play a 1-2-2, or they'll play a 2-3. So the first couple passes, we were basically trying to see what they were in and how they were going to play it. Uh, they played it basically how we thought they would. They were going to let the kid that made the shot shoot because he's a freshman. He's the
Right.
youngest kid on the floor. So they didn't think he would. I'm going to assume they didn't think he would be able to hit shots in pressure moments. We wanted to get the ball into the elbow with the big fella. Once he came around, if everybody crashed, we knew we were going to have to make shots all night. If they didn't crash, we knew he was going to have the advantage right there because that's his spot. He could turn around and hit that with his eyes closed. So that's basically what we were looking for.
Why the elbow instead of the nail? Is that just basically is a better shooter from right there?
Yeah, that's his spot. Because if we go there, if he got to turn around and make a decision, man, turnover. Because they were so small, he wouldn't keep the ball high. He would bring it down. They take it from him.
Do you guys run quick hitters against each of those zones, or do you just sort of have a formation most of the time where you're just trying to work it around type deal?
No, we got to set because in my experience, the more you work the defense, the higher the chance of them making a gamble.
Right.
So once they gamble, we usually dump it off for an easy bucket.
Love it. The next one is bang that. This is one of your baseline out of bounds. So it's like a line formation basically. We've got the top man going to the offensive weak side corner. We've got what looked like a a setup for a screen by the lowest guy. We got one guy peeling to the top, and then we got our big going strong side corner. We end up working it around, and you're big with the shot in the corner. Talk to me about wrinkles. Talk to me about how much of that is by design versus just guys kind of improvising. And
That
what happens if it breaks down? What's your play after the play type deal?
that entire play right there was a breakdown. They that was to me that looks like two. That's two plays. That's two baseline out of bound plays combined. Uh, but they did it. I mean, the two guys on the bottom did what they would do in the set, and the two guys up top did what they would do in the set, and it kind of worked out. We never put it back in because we never thought it would work out like that. But in this, normally the baseline guy goes all the way to the top. The second guy goes to the corner. The third guy basically seals the center man in on that 2-3, and the fourth guy usually just dives. And basically the guy on the outside of 2-3 has to make a decision whether he's going to guard the guard in the corner or you're going to guard the dive. And whichever one he takes, we hit the opposite guy. But this entire play was, yeah, that was just improvise. They improvised the entire play.
End up overloading and getting a corner three though. So I
Yeah,
mean, I'll take it, right?
yeah. I mean, we took it. We needed it at that point in time.
When you guys run what you're supposed to run, and you don't get what you want out of it, what do you move into? What's your play after the play type deal? What are you guys looking to achieve?
So the inbound guy will step in. If we don't get that quick shot in the corner or that quick dive, we'll go to the corner. The inbound guy will step in and go to the opposite side. And we'll swing it back around, and the guy that from the wing that passes by to the corner dives, and the opposite wing flashes. So you either have a shot, the guy cutting to the rim, or the guy coming across to the nail of the elbow, and we usually get a shot out of that.
Love it. Next one's an easy one. This is just something that I noticed that you guys were doing. I'm wondering if it's by design or if it got corrected later on because I didn't see it later on. But basically, it's a drive from the offensive right slot. It looked like a screen was coming. They reject the screen. And then on the reject, you guys pull in and help from the strong side corner. Is this scout specific? Is this a player doing something wrong? Or in your system, do you help from that corner?
It was a guy. So they broke it down because what would normally happen is they would screen and he would use it, and that was basically their coach making an adjustment to our defense. Uh, you normally don't help from a shooter because I'm pretty sure he made that shot, and he made about 7 or 8 of them that game. We don't leave that guy. The guy from the backside will come across and help, but you could see him coming. He was already there, so it wasn't
Right.
even necessary for him to do it.
Right.
That's the young fella. That's the freshman. So he tried to do something. You know, he made a mistake. We corrected it. I don't. He didn't do it anymore that game.
And do you influence from this slot? Like, are you sending sideline baseline? Because you just mentioned now that usually they'll use it and you switch. So do you,
So
if you're influencing, you should be icing, I think. And if you're not influencing or influencing middle, then you should be forcing them over. Am I correct or incorrect in that?
no, that's right. And what would have happened, which I think was happening all game, is he's supposed to hedge hard, and that's a reserve right there. That's actually a guy that didn't play all year. He was hurt and he came back, did a good job effort wise, but they did something abnormal. They hadn't done that all year, so that wasn't expected. That was one of those. All right, guys, we didn't tell you about that. We didn't expect that. That's something you got to sort of like figure out on your own.
Right. Um, this one is their sideline out of bounds. It's another rotations one, just asking how you would fix it within your system. The inbound, offensive right slot, give it back to the inbounder. And then he basically takes the low man down and hands back to a guy cutting in behind. And then he just steps into an open three. So talk to me about what you see here and how you would fix it.
So we're in that 2-3. The guy up top, he was doing his own thing. We're not guarding that guy all the way out there. He
Right.
should, because we're in a zone. I don't understand why he's up that high. And two, he gave up on the play. He just stopped. Uh, but one, if you're in position where you should be, none of this happens anyway. It's basic because the bottom guy has him. You're already in your position. He made a gamble right there. Shouldn't have made that gamble, but it happened. Basically, what we tell guys is if you play defense the way you should, they'll give you the ball. Especially people who don't like pressure, they'll just give you the ball. I mean, they'll turn it over
That's
anyway.
really true.
Yeah.
How
So
much of stealing the basketball is just like being patient?
yeah, I mean the majority of it. I mean we don't have a deep rotation, so we need guys to be on the floor anyway. So if you just wait it out, they'll give it to you.
This one is some full court man. What makes you guys decide to increase the level of pressure at this point? Talk to me about how you're teaching how to guard the ball in the backcourt. Are you trying to turn? Are you just trying to shadow? Do you run and jump from certain points? Are you pressuring for time? All of that.
So we're down, and we're running out of things that we think should help or things that should work. We were just trying to get some energy out of our guys. At this point, they were just playing so flat, man, and they were playing so passive. For us in the full court, we're trying to just speed them on up the court. And once we get them to a side of the floor, you really want to influence them to get the ball to a guy who never handles the ball. We cheat to the better ball handlers. In
Right.
this situation, we wanted 13 to get the ball, and once 13 got the ball, we were going to jump trap him. When he got it, one came over slow, top guy came slow. Everybody tried to help instead of talking. I'm 1,000% sure nobody said a word right there, and he just gave up an easy layup to a kid who hadn't scored all year.
So when you trap, do you zone up the other three, or do you keep the man and cut loose on somebody? What are sort of
Yeah,
your
so we leave that skip pass open because we're athletic enough to if they're gonna make that pass, we'll get over there. We'll be able to close out. And just in case they close out too hard, that backside is gonna come over and help. So especially when we're trapping this, we'll always leave that backside open. Uh, and we try to get it to the point where the person that's open is the least threatening person with that shot.
So on this from hang on, we got one skip, a second skip, and a third skip pass here. And now he drives middle and has the drop off. From about here, how would you like to see this played?
So I would want the top guy who I think is zero. Once he makes that skip, he should be diving to the middle because help is in the middle in this. We're pushing, yeah, that guy right there. We're pushing. He wants to go. We want him to get all the way to the middle. You want him to be set right there waiting on one because you can tell by his stance where he's going. You
Right.
want to push him to the middle. We got help to the middle. You can see that backside guy rotating up. So if he goes back to the ball side corner, we'll already have somebody sitting there, which more than likely would be a steal because he's ready to run now. So the guy on the ball side should be going to that corner with him. The opposite guy should be coming down, and that guy he should be going to the corner. Backside guy should be coming up. There you go. And then that top guy on the opposite side, he should be going all the way down. He'll have two, so he'll be in the middle of both of those guys on the backside.
Right. Perfect. It's funny how similar a lot of rotations are for a lot of teams.
Man, it's we're all in this together. Just a little bit of sprinkle here and a couple
It's
toppings
it's
there.
like
That's
you
it.
said. You might call this guy this or blah blah blah, but I mean, there's a few ways to do everything,
Mhm.
and most coaches are doing some variation of that.
This is very true.
We got rotations in pressure, is what I put in here. So it looks like you guys are still in a full court man, but you're not guarding the inbounder basically, and forcing into a trap as they're coming down the floor. The one guy shoots up the sideline. This is a pretty good pass, one on one to the rim, makes a pretty good contested layup. Talk to me about what you're in. Do I assess this right? Is this still a man and you're just not guarding the inbounder?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and how would you guard this different? What like I think I see the mistake. I'm curious to know if I'm right, and tell me what you would change if anything.
So it was a man. The guy sitting in the middle should have forced the ball back to the inbound guy, and then we would have been able to trap him because he's not a ball handler. Instead, he's just backpedaling all the way up. I mean,
Right.
and again, that's the same kid that hadn't played. Like he was hurt and injured and couldn't play, and he just got lost. And he did a lot, but he played hard. I mean, he did some good things, he did some bad things like everybody, but he just completely got lost right here.
And so in an ideal world, should he be cutting and going, or should
Yes,
should
yes.
he be stepping up more?
So what happens with that when we trap him? We want 25 to be open. We want the inbound man to be open.
Right.
Once he's open, the guy on that sideline, he's running with the guy up the sideline until we know he's pushing up the sideline. So once 25 gets the ball, we want to push 25 up that sideline. Now
So basically,
once
nobody here, and you want him going there.
Yeah, we want him going there till he gets to about the timeline. So once he gets to the timeline, he'll come back up. That guy that's all the way in the back will pick his up. The opposite guy would go all the way back and help. And 10 would run over and trap right there. Yeah, that's the trap. That's what we wanted.
Got it. And am I missing the trap here? I'm sorry. I think I got that right.
So the first guy that's on the backside that just let the guy run up the sideline, he would be the guy. He would run with him, and he would stop and come back and trap.
Right. Gotcha.
And 10, which this guy's just in the middle, he would go trap. And then and then the big fellow. Hold on. Yeah, that's right. So he should have went back. 10 should have went in trap. 3 Josh did what he was supposed to do. He's back right there. Got too deep. He shouldn't have let the guy come there. He should have made him make a decision. But everything is right except for that first trap guy over there.
Gotcha. Here's the one we were talking about, taking the charge. I thought this was a big time play. I'll let this roll a little bit. It's a baseline out of bounds. Basically, they work the ball around. So there's a little bit of dancing in the corner. He picks up his dribble, manages to hit basically wow, my brain's not working. I guess like a shallow cut, really, because it would be the same idea as a shuffle cut, but he doesn't come from the perimeter. So he kind of comes up through the nail, and then you just got a beautiful charge take. I'm not so sure if you had a circle, if he got out of the circle, but talk to me about anticipation. Talk to me about taking the charge. Talk to
So
me about how you reinforce it or teach it in practices.
so our guys don't like hitting the floor, but we make them do it. Uh, what we knew going into this is that we were going to switch that, and he was going to be the help guy. We already knew that, so he's already sitting in help. Once 41 saw him, he had been doing it all game. He was just trying to bully him. which I mean that kid's 5'2". He's 6'2". Why wouldn't he? But
Right.
it was expected. It was expected. At practice, we teach it. We're not one of those. I've seen some videos where guys just run through each other full speed. We don't teach it
Right.
like that. We don't teach it like that. But we tell guys to sit there and take it like it's a part of basketball. So normally charges are taken on a rotation on a drive because for us, we would probably done it a little bit different. We probably would have swung it around to the opposite side and attacked the gap on the rotation.
Yep.
Well, he did what he was supposed to do. It was expected.
Well, he took it on the numbers for sure. But to me, what I like is, I mean, like you said, he's a smaller guy. He knew they were going to try and bully him, but the anticipation on this is great.
Yeah, that kid. That kid had been playing like. I mean, he's a physical kid. He had been throwing his weight around all game, and I honestly don't remember him in the first two games. If he did play, he didn't have as big an impact as he did this game. But I remember watching it over and over, and I was like, dang, he was really out there just bullying people around. Like he was just throwing his weight around. So I
Oh,
mean, he took it
fighting the dog, not the dog in the fight, as they say, right?
all the time, especially with us.
This one is attacking their half court zone. There's a handoff to the right side. We swing it around, throw it to that elbow. And then he drives a closeout on the initial strong side and kind of veers back towards the center and plays with a beautiful drop off to your big. It's a great play. Talk to me. I mean, what's prescribed is what my note is. Tell me, what's a set play? Tell me what is a player making a good play? What do you see? And do you think you could replicate this?
We did this maybe 5 times, six maybe being generous, but I know for a fact he made that shot, that dump off to that shot 3 or 4 times. That was something we threw in at halftime. It was a small adjustment to what we normally do. Uh, a lot of people teach use the baseline as your defender. That's a good thing for us because he's so quick. And when he gets there, he plays off two. He rarely plays off one. He plays off two all the time.
Right, right,
And it's I mean it's simple. That's basically one of our plays. We call it 2-3. Anytime they're in the what replicates a 2-3 zone, we basically run this where the opposite guy flashes when he swings, and we if you reverse it back around, he drops to the short corner, and the other guy flashes to the elbow. If he swings around, it's the same thing, and it worked to perfection. He did it a couple times.
so you mentioned the playing off of two for you, coach. Do you have flexibility? Is it always off of two? Is it always off of one? What are you teaching guys?
Oh man, we teach what the moment gives you, but a part of one of our when we give them individual workouts, one of the first things we do is we finish with the same hand, same arm, opposite leg, off two to a pivot to the opposite side. So it's not like that's something that they just picked up and did one time. That's something that we teach. It's something that we do over and over. And he is a small guy, but he explodes off two. Like the kid, if he's in open court, the kid's gonna dunk the ball, and he's 5'2", 5'3". No exaggeration. So yeah, that's something we worked on.
Gotta love those athletic guys. Jeez,
Man, man.
5'2", 5'3" over the rim. Gotta love it. So this is an example of a full court press. We've moved quite a bit along in the game. So setting the scenario a bit, we are now into the fourth quarter. As you said, all the marbles. You're down 5. There's 3 minutes left in the game, and from here on out, it's pressure city. Uh, but you employ what I thought was interesting, a little bit of top side deny on the two with a center fielder in behind. So they split on their inbounds. They don't take advantage of the advantage really, and then run the floor. And you guys end up helping off of that strong side corner, and he hits a big time three.
That
So
that was something drawn up that we didn't practice, and you could tell. uh, what we wanted to happen was we didn't care about the screens or anything. They were just supposed to take the guy on their side. They were supposed to sit there until somebody came to their side. The middle guy was supposed to be there to take the pass over the top away. And once the ball got there, he was supposed to cut him off and trap it.
right,
That was a bad call on our end, because we just drew it up out of a timeout, and
But
you could
but
tell.
he didn't cut it off and trap it though
No, he
into it,
didn't do
right?
anything. Yeah,
Yeah, he
and
just
that
kind of
and
went
yeah, and
back
that
and came down there.
yeah. I think what happened. Well, I know what he told us was I didn't think they were gonna pass him the ball, which the kid never touched the ball. But I mean, in situations like this, everybody has to step up. So that's what the
Well,
kid
the
did.
the interesting thing is, I don't think he thought they were going to pass him the ball. If you watch when he catches and rips, like I said, he didn't really take advantage of the advantage. He almost waited for you guys to set up and then was like, I guess I'll go.
and he changed pivots.
Oh, details.
Yeah, yeah. He definitely did. Now that you look at it, he startled.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was
yeah.
startled.
That's a big time shot, but it's okay. We move on. Uh, this one is a question I ask every week. I mean, obviously, time and score is a factor here because we're at the 2.5, 3 minute mark. But I always ask, transition threes, yay or nay, and in terms of for you, if it's yes, what needs to happen for that person to be able to shoot it?
Well, the first thing for this to happen, it has to be you have to be the best shooter on the floor because that will put you in that spot. So at this time, he was the best shooter on the floor. We wouldn't mind the shot because I mean you can't score without shooting.
Right.
But the only thing I think we would change on this is I would swing it back because the advantage was at the top of the key. And he would have definitely attacked that gap to that side, and he probably would have came back to him. He might have had a better rhythm. His feet would have been under him. But we definitely we allow this in the half court area practice. They sprint to the corner and get shots up all the time. So it's not like it's something that he hadn't made. It's not just like something he just threw up at that time. It's something that we went over. The shot just didn't fall.
So would all players be allowed to shoot this, even if they're not as good of a shooter, or
You have to be the best shooter on the floor at that time. Uh, and the big kid's not in, so he definitely is the best shooter on the floor. He actually shot the ball. Yeah, he was second on team percentage wise. I think he shot the three at like 41%. So he's the best shooter on the floor. We didn't mind that shot. You just got to get it back on defense.
like it? And then this is where we're at. Basically, this is all the marbles, as you said, the swing time, big time play. So you're down 3, 11 seconds left, and you guys kept the pressure on. It's their ball. You had just scored, and with this, they threw over top, challenged, missed. But one of your other guys, there was a deflection. Like you said, one of your quick guards gets in there and gets it, and just gets downhill, drive kick, and we nail this huge shot to take it to overtime. They end up missing in the other direction. So I mean, obviously massive. Obviously, all the things we're talking about in terms of deflections come into play. What I'm curious about is what is the focus now like on the bench? What are you guys thinking as a coaching staff? How are you preparing for the overtime? What are you telling them?
So previous to this, the play before this, two plays we had cut it to three. They went down and made a three. We were down six with 38 seconds to go.
Right.
We called a timeout. And I usually don't say too much, but I remember this like yesterday. I said, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a three, we're gonna get a steal, we're gonna make another three, we're gonna go into overtime and win the game. I remember said it. I said, y'all go out there and make me a profit. I remember it like yesterday. And
You had your crystal ball in the huddle, is what you're saying.
but it went out and happened. And once we went in overtime, we had all the momentum. By that time, they got all their jitters out because a lot of these guys in middle school they don't win a game because they don't. I mean, they're not basketball players. So by the time
Right.
we get guys to high school, they hadn't won a game. So we got to teach them how to do everything, how to win, how to play. So once we got to this situation, we knew we were going to win the game. There was no stopping us right there.
That's a huge shot. And then I didn't bring up a clip specific to it, but in overtime, you guys kept the pressure on the whole time, even while you were up 7 or 8. Talk to me a little bit about that. I think it's risky, but I like it personally. I think it works probably better at like high school and college level than it does at the pro level. So what was sort of the mentality? I mean, I know it's you guys' game, but what did you say to the guys to keep them motivated there?
they were erratic. We hadn't beat them all year, uh, and we needed that. We needed that game. We needed that. That was for us. For us going into the playoffs, which we already knew where we were going. We knew we were going to host the game, but for us to host that game, something that had never happened in the history of the school, we were trying to put out a statement that we're going to play through all zeros on the clock. And I think a little trash talking went into it. There's some stuff happening in the stands, and but we were just basically sending the message like, "This is what you're gonna get from us. This is how we're gonna play. This is our style. Deal with it." And that's all it was.
I love it. I love it. Well, congratulations on the result. It's always good to see friends excel at what they're doing for sure. But I enjoyed watching this game, and I thought uh, you could clearly see. I one of my previous guests said that a scout is easy. What do they do? A game plan is difficult. How are we going to either get them to do what we want, or how are we going to counter what they do? And I felt like the whole way through when I was watching it, I could clearly see what the narrative was and how guys were trying to force to it. So, congratulations. Great job as a coach, obviously, great job as a coaching staff, and good job with your guys overall. Keep on doing what you guys are doing with
I
that.
appreciate that. We appreciate that.
Yes, sir. If anybody has any questions, please feel free. But if not, I'll wind it down from there. Uh, Mac, I just want to say thank you for taking the time, sitting down with me. I know that it wasn't the greatest amount of notice that I gave you to prepare for this show, but I mean, being the professional that you are, holding it down, really appreciate. But thank you for sitting down, mid school year, like midweek, with me. I'm very, thank you. I'm very just overwhelmed that there's so much kindness in the world amongst the gentlemen in our group. I really am. Thank you.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me, man, because I definitely didn't know what to expect. But I mean, just doing it is just, I mean, it's not as difficult as I thought it would be. So I appreciate you taking
Wow.
the time to invite me, man.
It's a look into what you guys are doing in the huddle and in the preparation, right? And I mean, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I'll see you guys next week on Run It Back. Thank you so much. Mac, hang on. I'll stop the recording here, but let's shoot the breeze a bit.
No,